Hey. There we go. Naima Singletary here. And I just realized I don't have my desktop set up. Give me 1 second. You are here with the Power to Lead an Unseen Vision show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m. Every Monday, Wednesday. I do not do well with multitasking. The Power to Lead an Unseen Vision every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Europe time. And today's topic is how to know if you're one of the blessed few. There we go. It's urgent. How did today's topic come about? I started to talk about this on Monday, and I've been talking about it in different ways. So I'm an advisor to visionary business people who have created success in their lives and have a knowing, not a belief, not a feeling, but know that the next phase of their life, they are meant to really bring forth the work that they were born to bring forth. It's very clear to them, and the urgency is present and the urgency is real. And my job is to constantly walk through the terror, the unknown, and to really just follow the thread that pulls me. That's my job. Follow the thread that pulls me and speak the truth that comes through me, infinite intelligence that comes through me, while cooperating with natural law, universal law. So my duty includes inhabiting pure power, being a magnet for those who are ready to inhabit pure power, and to then work with those people behind the scenes in the work that we're going to be doing with visibility so that they inhabit pure power, so that they're then able to bring forth the work that they are born to birth. Because what I know now, well, I knew it before, I just didn't know how to articulate it, it wasn't time for me to articulate it, is that in order to bring forth a thing that does not yet exist and only exists, and I'm not talking about the mortal mind. I know oftentimes when I do this, I'm talking about the mortal mind. So I'm not talking about the mortal mind. I'm talking about the thing that has been with you, that you were born coded with, right? The thing that you know, that you know, that you know. In order to birth that, you must be deeply plugged in. Like, there's no way you can really come out into the marketplace and deal with human beings, whether those human beings are your team, your partners, your customers, your whoever, right? You're dealing with, that you can come out and be able to speak the details of your vision, to be able to be the leader that people follow, for you to be able to stand in the conviction and the knowing of the thing that only you possess, that you then are to articulate to the people, to model to the people, and to follow through continuously over the long term, all right? And to be persistent, consistent, and to be able to deal with opposition and failure and not knowing and yet being required to continue to go. There's no way to lead this path, to walk this life, to live this life without inhabiting a level of pure power, lasered in and connected to the infinite intelligence that we are of, that I am of, that you are of. And so my job now, and also my intent with being here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, is to model the inhabiting of pure power, to share stories of walking through terror, of the daily realities of being a chosen one, one of the blessed few. So, I love being here because I can do my best to create clarity. For those of you who peek in, like, what is this about? Is this for me? No, this isn't for me. Oh, this bitch. Oh, hell no. This shit ain't for me. Or like the few who are like, where have you been? Right? And I actually feel that way for myself in doing this. Like, I wish I had a me to be my advisor. And perhaps I will at some point. So, the blessed few. The blessed few. First of all, every single living human is blessed. Let's get that out of the way. The fact that out of all of the sperm that was a part of the team of sperm that you were in, and that your sperm out of the millions, I think it might even be billions, but I know at minimum, millions of sperm that you were a part of when your father ejaculated, okay? That you were the one that made it. Like, what? Like, really take that in. This is a fact. Out of the millions of sperm, you were the one that made it and you're here. Like, if we really embody that and live that, a lot of the, petty doubt and stuff that we have a tendency to dwell in may not exist. We may not do. Anyway, so I just want to get that out of the way. And to reiterate what I have said many times on the show is that this is not of separation, like I'm better than or you're better than and those people. It's none of that. That's not what this is. Be clear. This is being so self-aware and being so dialed in, and oftentimes, frankly, you being able to track your life, being able to look at why is it that you seem to be so different and think so different than everybody else? Why is it that everybody else seems to be totally okay with this reality, and yet your whole life there's been this thread, it's almost been like fate for you, that you were meant to do this thing, even if nobody ever spoke to it, and there was nothing in your exterior to reflect what was going on in your interior. You just knew that you knew that you knew. And your life up to this point has reflected your refusal to accept what appears to be what the way things are supposed to go. And yet you have pushed through again and again and again repeatedly in the face of opposition, in the face of being rejected, in the face of being talked bad about, in the face of losing money, in the face of doubt, in the face of the unknown, in the face of persecution, in the face of terror, in the face of all of this, you still know that there is a very specific, there's a very specific place and way for you to live. There's a specific thing for you to birth. This is an indicator that you are among the blessed few. And what I have found in my own reality, this is how I'm able to speak to this with such knowing, not because I read a book or because of something out there. It's because of my lived reality of being one and tracking, my life from as far back as I can remember. Looking at, comparing looking at the world at large. And I've lived in a lot of different places around the world, different countries, cultures, climates. So I've gotten a chance to look and see what's normal, what makes the culture, how people live here versus there, how people this age versus that age, how normalcy is created in different cultures. And then being able to notice what is the consistent theme among people no matter where I go. And I can talk so much about this. I shared a beautiful story on Facebook maybe 3 weeks or so ago because of an experience I had here in the mountains of Italy. There's one cafe, one here in the mountains, that is maybe a 10-minute walk from where I'm living. And there's a woman there who's among the different ones, okay? And this is also, I think, a great example for me to share with you the differentiation. Because remember, I've been talking about precision and the difference between discernment and high discernment. Remember? On Monday's show, I talked about this. The difference between belief and knowing. The difference between discernment and high discernment. The difference between good and great. Like, this highness that I'm talking about. And this is also the difference between those who have always been different and the blessed few. Remember, I even talked a few shows back about not everybody makes it out. Okay? And so I met her, Italian woman. She is a not a psychic. She's a philosopher. She's a philosopher. And she works in the medical system here, and she travels around northern Italy, teaching doctors and nurses how to effectively deal with patients who are in hospice. And when you're dialed in and you're connected and you're perceptive, remember, and that's the thing, perception and high perception, right? And you learn how to navigate spaces when you meet somebody that's in a similar vein, not the same, but a similar vein as you, of path, of knowing. You guys select each other. It's like walking in a room of 100 people and you see one of your people and you know each other, okay, like that. And so I was invited to this. This was just so sacred that I was even invited because, like, practically nobody here speaks English. The woman who I buy groceries from invited me to this private birthday affair. I mean, it was just so sacred, the whole thing. Anyway, so I walk in, there's like 20 people there, about, and I sit down. When Italians celebrate, they sit, there's the way they set up the table, there's a whole tradition to it. So I end up sitting at one of the corners of this setup that they have. And everybody was seated. Well, mostly everybody was seated. They were serving cake, and the people who were serving the cake, they were up. And there was an empty chair next to me. And out of the blue, this woman, I don't even know where she came from, but this curly-haired Italian woman just came and sat in it. She just sat down and she just crossed her legs and she sat back and she just looked at me with like, hi. She didn't say this, but she looked at me like, hi, I'm here to meet you. Like, she knew we were supposed to meet. And so I quickly realized that she was one of the different ones and that it was synchronistic that she would just place herself right there. And so, to make a long story short, I'm making a long story short, all right? So you're gonna have to connect some dots here, okay? I said to her, you're different, obviously. I see you. I know you don't fit with what's normal here in Italian culture. What's it like being you in this culture? And darling, she gave me that look. The look that those of us who have always been different give each other when we see each other. So she gave me that look, and she was quiet, and she was smiling, and she looked, first of all, I remember her body relaxed. I saw her relax into her body when I asked her this question, because she could see that I saw her. And there was a pause. And then once she kind of like got herself together, and I just sat in the pause, right? I've been doing this and sensing and seeing people long enough to know to let things be. And when it's time, I'll get the instruction. And she said to me, I don't like to think about it because it makes me sad. That's what she said to me. And remember, I made a long story short, so there's other factors and things going on here. So I paused for a moment because I felt like we needed to close a door before we remember, we're in this space at the celebration birthday party with like 20 other people. And so I said to her, after a pause and deciding the next thing to do, because this is a delicate situation now, I asked her, what do you do with the sadness? And she says, I adjust. So then that spiritual door closes. And she's one of the different ones, but she's not a blessed one. Now, it could change, right? The reason I'm sharing this story is to help you discern between just being someone who's gifted and highly self-aware and perceptive versus a blessed. See, remember perception and high perception, discernment and high discernment, good and great. You must... and you can try to lie to yourself. It doesn't even matter what I say or think. There's laws that govern this shit that's bigger and stronger than you and I, okay? So when you are one of the blessed few, your behaviors reflect that. And so you show up in the world as a blessed one. There's a high discernment in who you magnetize. This will also explain who enrolls with you and who doesn't. Why a person enrolls with you and why they don't. Another thing that discerns the difference between those who have always been different and who are gifted from the blessed few are the level of terror that you're willing to walk through, then ascend and walk into the terror. So it's like this. It's suffering just to suffer versus suffering to end all suffering. Take that in. Suffering just to suffer, like you're in your depression, you talk about your depression, you become so well versed and familiar in your depression. And this could have been me in 2013. Remember, I talked about this, I think last week, when I was not showering for days at a time. I was drinking myself to sleep. I was looking for cyanide to kill myself. Like, that is a level of depression that many don't make it out of, unfortunately. They're dealing with it now. They've been dealing with it for much of their life. And sadly, many of them commit suicide from this place. This is the difference between the gifted and the blessed few. So your honesty about who you are and your willingness to really step into that is what distinguishes one from the other. So there's suffering just to suffer, and wallowing and staying in that and giving excuses about that and replaying old stories and tapes about what happened to you and why you can't and who you are. And right, there's all that. And then there are the ones. Something happens. And you can put any label or story, I don't even care. This is higher than us, okay? There's a switch that goes off inside. And there's a connection and a real knowing of the connection. Not like, oh dear God, please. Like, I know that there's a God. I believe. There's no desperation in it. There's no begging. And I know that place because I was in that place once upon a time. This is how I know the difference between the two. And there's a switch and there's like just like a flipping over. And there's no knowing when it's going to happen or who, or it just is. And there's a connection with a thing that's so profound and infinite. I don't even have you can call it God, right? God. It must be, right? Where else? Who else? And you show the fuck up without apology, without explanation, without permission, and you show up to do the thing that you were born to do. And all of your actions reflect it. No one has to, your actions are evidence of your knowing. You don't have to explain, nobody has to wonder. Like, you are here with me because I show up. My actions reflect my knowing that I'm a blessed one. The success that I've created, when I came out of that depression at the end of 2013 and 2014, made that decision. The decision was made in 2013, and 2014 is when I really started to show up in public. All of that was me recognizing that I was one of the blessed few. I didn't have the language, the name, right? I wasn't at that level to be able to articulate it yet, but I had made the decision that I was showing the fuck up. I said to God, I am not, literally, I was like, I need to fucking go, meaning die. Like, I need to fucking get off this fucking planet if I'm not even gonna do the thing that I was born to do. Like, I don't wanna be here. And I remember when I made the decision to come out, it was, I am going to be who the fuck I am. Like, everything. The money, the pure power, the truth telling, the unfiltered, like, I was killing anything and everything that threatened my shit. Like, you gotta be willing to kill. You must, and when I say kill, I mean slay anything that comes to try to take you out. And it's all up here in this mortal mind. It's all up here. The voices, this is how it feels, doesn't it? Like the shit, the voices, the seemingly so real illusion. Like, I remember the first time, let me share something with you. Let me share the power that you have, the power that I have. So prior to me coming back out, so I came into the transformation space in 2011. And I showed up in the industry like most of us show up, with limited consciousness, with poverty consciousness, with victim consciousness, with looking for somebody out there to come and save me, some coach, something, some person, some circumstance. And so my income was a reflection of that. I was always like, oh, I might have some money, I might don't have some. Drama, feast or famine, boredom. And I remember I got so sick of that. And that's part of, my decline, because I was praying and like, I was for real about changing. And so when you start really asking for change, there's disruption. And if you have an immature processing system or understanding, you'll think that you're just fucked up and you lose, but really everything is being destroyed so you can rebuild. So that's what was happening. And I remember my income was always like that. And I remember when I came back into the world to work and be who I really was in 2014, I saw that the old me was trying to have room. It was still trying to be present and take up space. So the old me, where in the past I would set these financial goals, like I'd set a goal of like $10,000, and I had done a few, but it was never consistent. I would set a goal of like $10,000 a month, and I would always like do this fight inside. It was just like, well, maybe I'm asking for too much, and am I being greedy? And oh, who's gonna pay that? Oh God, like that was the drama. So then I would create the goal, and then I would quit the goal, because if it wasn't coming fast enough, or if my emotions got, or if I was, it just was like, my mind took me out of the game. I would talk myself out of it with the shit that I just mentioned. And so when I came back out, and remember I told you guys this a few shows ago, that I said, I'm coming back out and I'm making a difference a priority, and I'm making money a priority. Because prior to that, I was I was the acceptable Black chick. I was nice. I was the leader, the nice, inspiring leader. And I was in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was, you know, the acceptable version of leadership, the praised and widely liked version of leadership. And while I was widely liked and got invited to a lot of places and all the things that the ego loves, that the good person loves, not the good person loves, it kept my money like this. It kept me serving people at a lower level. It kept me and my frequency at a lower level. So when I saw that shit, like you have seen, those of you who are the blessed few, when you made a fierce ass decision, remember I talked about one of the ways of inhabiting pure power is making a decision, a high decision in the direction of your highest calling. When I had made that decision to come back out into the world after being isolated and depressed and looking at suicide and not showering for days at a time and was refusing to come out unless I was coming as my whole fucking self. And I came out and I said, I'm making money and making a difference a priority. Boom! That was the decision. And then here comes the old Naima. I had made this financial goal, and I remember I was like, here was the financial goal. I wanted to do $50,000 in a month. $50,000. What? I had never even done 20. I said, it is time for me to blow my fucking mind. This was not about anybody else. This was about, remember, rebuke, the word need. It is time for me to prove in my external world, because I had a knowing inside. But it's so easy to be like, oh, I know. But then have nothing out here that proves that you know. Okay? So it was time for me to manifest in my external world what I knew in my internal world. Otherwise, it would just be a huge ass, deep desire, wish, I know, kind of like borrowed belief. That's what it was like for me when I first entered the transformation space. I was borrowing a lot of confidence because there was something in me that knew, but I didn't have any external evidence to help validate what I knew. So I said, I don't care if I've never made $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. Bitch, $50,000 is the goddamn goal. So when I made that goal, the old me who used to think, well, maybe I'm being greedy. Maybe now's not the time. Am I asking for too much? Like, oh my God. Like, Naima, are you gonna let the same thing that was doing this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like, is this gonna be your life for the rest of, get a fucking control of your brain. This is like the conversation I'm having with myself. And you gotta this is what I say, you gotta be ready and willing to kill the internal demon that will keep you out. This is the difference between those who are gifted and the blessed few. There are many gifted people who are poor. There are many gifted people who are not spreading their gifts around the world. This is the difference between being gifted and being the blessed few. I only fuck with the blessed few. Because I cannot be in service to those who are gifted because they're unwilling. They're unwilling to slay their own demons. They're unwilling to really show up and inhabit pure power consistently. That's all the fuck that's the shit that makes me come alive. That's where the fucking change is happening. Like, this world that we live in, like, I get to be here now. I'm doing largely about, okay, so the brain was doing what it always had done in the past. And I remember I would have to slay that thing and slay that thing and slay that thing. And so a month went by and I didn't get the $50,000. 2 months went by. By 2 months, I'm like, where is my, because I refused for 2014, Naima, for 2014, yeah, 2014. I refused for 2014, Naima, and actually this was in 2015 when I made this goal. I refused to let 2015 Naima become 2012 Naima, 2013 Naima, 2014 Naima. I refused. So by month 3, and now I've never done this before. I've never held on to a goal for this long. 3 months. By this time, long before this time in the past, I would have let one of the stories take me out. Well, maybe now's not the time. Maybe I'm being greedy, and maybe I'm asking for too much. Let me reduce it. Okay, instead of 50, let's make it 20. You've never even done 20, do 20. Like, that's what the logical mind does. But when you are doing something that's radical, remember, you're birthing something that hasn't been seen yet. You're taking something from infinite intelligence that only you can see and bringing it to the world in the form of a business and expecting to make millions. You can't be, this is the goal, this is what you're told to do, and then shrinking it down because your mind told you. Remember, I told you, the brain is all about survival, the mortal mind. It cannot comprehend things that are not of the logical mind. It cannot comprehend taking nothing and creating something. It only understands food and housing, meaning survival. Therefore, you must draw from infinite intelligence and from universal truth. Universal truth says that which vibrates as true desire within you already exists. This is law. This is not my opinion, my hope, my something. This is what it is. Anything that is of deep, I'm talking about like compelling desire within you, means that it already exists. And your job is to get your frequency and alignment and readiness for you to then receive the thing. So here I am, month 3. Where is my $50,000? I'm literally like, where is my $50,000? I'm continuing to market. I'm continuing to do my thing. And I had clients. And here, and remember, you guys, the slaying of the demons, like you got to be willing to get hostile, violent. There were nights, I remember then, even now, I have to do this because the shit ain't going nowhere. It gets worse the higher you go. But what happens is you get better at slaying these motherfuckers, okay? So I remember being in bed and literally it would feel like I would be surrounded by bullies, demons, surrounded by these motherfuckers just like coming after me. And I have to literally get out the bed and be like, get the fuck out! Like literally full, get up out the bed in the middle of the night, scream, yell, I am having this is mine. Like, you gotta fight. You have to be willing. If you're going to birth something that has not been seen by the external world, if you are going to be the face of something that does not yet exist, if you are the blessed few, this is required of you. Otherwise, sit the fuck down and go vote. And expect that to sit the fuck down and go to happy hour. Sit the fuck down and be happy with your 80,000 and your brunches and your whatever you do with the muggle world. And you know what? Part of me is like, you are not that if you're here, but it's to make a point about the level of fight and what is the distinction between the good and the great, the gifted and the blessed few. So I had to do this multiple times. So here's month 4, and I'm like, now I'm commanding. Catch that. Because see, you got to go through walls. There's levels to this shit. Oh, you think you want it? Prove it. When you get slapped, and then you meet that shit. And you still command, Oh, do you really? You get hit again. Boom. You meet that shit. Boom. You get hit again. You meet that shit. Huh? That's what was happening. It wasn't showing up. The old me was coming, trying to have a beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. By month 4, it is mine. Right? I'm saying it is mine. So what happens? I have a client who I have been working with. She and I are coming up on one of our last coaching sessions. And I thought to myself, and during this time also, I'm working on wealth consciousness. Remember, I told you that's a big part of this. We're talking about millions, right? My vision requires millions. Yours requires millions, maybe even billions. So as I'm working with this woman and I see our agreement is coming to an end, and I'm like, wow, I would really like to continue working with this woman. What would it look like if I had no limitations on working with this woman? And what would that look like? So I wrote it all down on paper. Have a VIP day once a quarter. Excuse me, we'd have this many calls. And I wrote it down with no limitations. Where in the past, I might be like, well, this is going to cost a lot, and maybe we should do this because I don't know if she can do that. And all the logical, I'm telling you, this game we're playing is of the miraculous. It's of infinite intelligence where there's no logic behind this shit. Like, we use linear masculine context to help create order. But once the container is set and we get in there, we're totally leveraging miraculous infinite intelligence. To go from $7 to my name to a multiple 6-figure coaching business was not because I worked hard, was not because I had the best strategy and the best coach. 1, it was a decision, and 2, it was leveraging the fuck out of infinite intelligence. And this story is an example of that. Anyway, so work is in there, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not the leading force. And the blessed few know that. So I create what it would look like for us to work together, extending our contract, because we're working within a 6-month contract and coming to the end of that. So we're on one of our last phone calls. I'm on the phone with her, and at the end of the call, I say to her, let's say her name is Tanya. I say, Tanya, so I've totally loved working with you. She had already gotten amazing results, us working together. And I said, you've gotten amazing results, and I would love to talk about what it would look like to continue working together. Would you like to do that? And she agreed with me. She said, Naima, this has been tremendous us working together. I have gotten so much value. I have changed so much. I've gotten this, and that. Yes, I would love to talk about what it would look like for us to work together. So I presented to her everything that I had written out without limits, with that infinite mind of what it would look like. I said to her, this is what I see for us. I see a VIP day once a quarter, because I put together an agreement where we would work together for an additional year. I said we'd have a VIP day once a quarter. We'd have this many calls. We'd have this. It'd be this. And I said the investment for that, when I had did all the numbers on paper, I said, and the investment for that is $65,000. Her response, without a pause or missing a beat, her response, okay. She deposited $35,000 on the phone right then and there with the credit card and paid the balance the next day. No hiccups, no denied transactions, no drama. I'm telling you, the most up-to-date, the most smooth transaction ever. And since then, I've secured more $65,000 clients, $100,000 clients, $20,000 clients by commanding and walking through terror, working wealth consciousness, leveraging infinite intelligence. And this is what separates the gifted from the blessed few. This is how I'm one of the few Black women in the transformation space who has created the success that I have created. So when I speak to you about this stuff, it's because I've been to hell and back numerous times. And I continue to do the work day by day by day, to ensure that I am inhabiting pure power. And I fuck up all the time. Saturday, I talked to you guys on Monday about the way the bottom of me fell out when I went to Milan because I didn't prepare myself. When you're among the blessed few, when you have walked through that door, because there's a door to walk through to go from being good to great, to go from being gifted, there's a door, okay? When you make that commitment and you walk through that door and you give yourself over to the work that you were born to do, there are rules that govern you and you must obey. And this is a very good thing. It's very liberating. It's very liberating. And what happens is the shit that happens in your life, and I talked about this, is all to refine you. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So Saturday happened for me to refine me. As a reminder, Naima, you are one of the blessed few. You must remember to prepare yourself and pay acute attention to when things shift beyond what you've planned. Pay acute attention to when things shift beyond what you plan. Because I had a plan. I had a plan for how Saturday was going to go. I had a plan for how Sunday was going to go. And my plan was thrown off on Saturday. That is okay. When plans are thrown off, I don't have control over that. What I have control over is myself, how I handle it, how I choose to move. And there was a way for me to choose and handle that was of a higher nature that is required of me. So that incident happened on Saturday to refine me so that I'm better as a representative of one of the blessed few walking this planet. Because I'm not only in service to people when we're working together, I'm also in service to people who are observing me. Just day-to-day interactions with people who I interact with, there is a level of service in their interaction with me. So this is a tall order. Yeah, you should have caught that. This is a very tall order, being one of the blessed few, and the rewards are tremendous. You're held in a way that allows you to be able to move about this chaotic world. You are blessed in a way that allows you to do things that those who are simply gifted cannot do. You have a capacity that others do not have. You are able to create and birth and connect and call in ways that others cannot. And you suffer in a way that is of another dimension when you disobey the laws that govern the world of the blessed few. So with that, I'm calling in 3 blessed few. We are going to work together for a year. 4 of the places, I'm so excited to share this part. I am deeply affected by my environment, deeply. It takes an exhaustive amount of work for me to produce and be creative when I'm in an environment that is not nourishing. Because of that, and because I know that the other blessed few that I know, we are also affected by our environments. I've hand-selected 4 highly stimulating and nourishing destinations around the world for us to go into throughout 2019 for a week to work in as a group. Those 4 destinations are Positano, Italy, Saint-Tropez, France, Sicily, Italy, and the Maldives. Those are the 4 destinations that we will be spending a week in each quarter next year, okay? The benefit here, beyond and among those that you already feel and sense, because as I talk about this and you imagine yourself in this, you can see what would be beneficial for you, even beyond what I'm going to share next. But one of the best benefits is being in relationship with, in-person relationship with, and harmonious with other blessed people. One of the benefits of being in this harmony, in-person relationship with blessed people is that there's these power centers all in the same room or on the same beach or in the same villa, wherever we are, right? There's me as a power center, there's you as a power center, and there are the others there as power centers, right? We all have our vibrations in the room. And what happens is when you are in a room with other people who are vibrating high, wherever it is that you need to strengthen up, you get the opportunity to really strengthen up in that way. Because it's kind of like if someone is more powerful than you, right? And you come with the intention to strengthen up, because this container is for you to become the most refined, high, blessed one. That is the purpose here, so that you can be the channel, the being that's bringing forth this vision that the world has. There is no competition. There is no better than. This is your home. This is where you are born to be. So there are going to be areas where you are stronger and I am weaker. There are going to be areas where somebody else is stronger and you are weaker. And so what happens is, as we're in the same room and we're vibrating, this has nothing to do with what we say, because the vibration is moving at a speed much faster than our words. And that which needs to be refined, I rebuke the word need. That which is required to be refined will be when you come with that intention and you're in the presence of someone who's stronger in an area where you deeply desire to be stronger. So as we're talking about our goals, as we're talking about our numbers, like what numbers are required, what team is required, what challenges that we're finding ourselves up against, and we're organizing and sharing and doing all that, the person who is vibrating stronger in an area where you are weaker, then they get to come in and be a level of mentor and support for you in that space, whether it's in Positano or Saint Tropez or Sicily or the Maldives. And so this year long together is for you to become a radically and more refined version of yourself, so that you are able to more masterfully walk through terror as you are birthing content, as you are hiring team, as you are stepping into bigger numbers in your business. This is for you to become a much more present, a much more self-respecting leader who's able to do all the things that's required for you to bring a thing to the world that does not yet exist. So the investment for this year is $75,000. The deposit is $5,000. Of course, you can pay in full, you can even deposit more, but that is the minimum to get started. The investment for the year is $75,000 and the deposit is $5,000. And we can split up that payment in a multitude of ways. What's most important and required is your yes, not 99%, 100%. Remember I talked Monday about the exhaustion and the difference between 99% and 100%. So we're talking about a revolution. We're talking about a radical experience. We're talking about you really refining your position as one of the blessed few. And I'm happy to have a conversation with you if you know this is for you. I want to speak to something that's been happening in my inbox. So there are people who are finding, this show just started like, 2 weeks ago. And I'm already having people in my inbox who just found this. Not even people who've been following me for a while, but people who just found this. And they don't have sight yet. That's a whole other conversation. They don't have sight yet to be able to discern if I'm for them or not. And even people who have been in my orbit for some years apparently don't have sight enough to know if I'm for them or not. And I say that because of the quality of the messages that they're sending to me in my email box. I'm happy to comment on comments here on the video. You're watching this as a replay or you're here now. I'm happy to comment, answer questions, etc., that kind of a thing. Because this is also here for, like, I do this for vibrational reasons. I do this for self-serving reasons, because when I speak to you, I also speak to myself. I speak so that my people can find me. I mean, there are a multitude of reasons why I'm here. So I'm able to, communicate with, comment, etc. here. However, my purpose, I am designed for working with those who know. Not those who are exploring their options. Like that's what the typical coachy kind of person does. Somebody messaged me that the other day saying, Naima, I'm exploring my options. And this is a woman who's been following me for years. Naima, I'm finally ready to build my multi-million-dollar and I'm exploring my options. You do not contact me because you're exploring your options. You contact me because you know, like you and God are already clear. This has less to do with me and more to do with you knowing that I am the one to support you in your next level of refinement. Remember, I talked about this. I didn't even have the maturity to respect the way this woman came at me in 2011. I was new to the transformation space. I had just put out my first video series. It was, opt in, you get video 1, video 2, video. It was my first time doing that in 2011. This woman who was living in, I think, San Diego emailed me and she said, Naima, I know that you are to be my next mentor. I remember I was like, how do you know? This is what I was thinking to myself. How do you know? I don't know. The mortal mind went to town. And she said, Naima, I know. Like she was teaching me and I didn't even know it at the time. So when you contact me because you know. Not because it seemed like a good idea. Not because I said, email me, so you emailed me. Not because you're exploring options, but because you know that you're one of the blessed few. Because you've already been through hell. Because you know you've already seen, right? Like even if you are at a level where you've only made $100,000 or, $200,000 or whatever, you know that there's a place for you and you've known this forever. Like I'm talking about you becoming that one where you walk through the door to go to a speaking event or to an event and people look at you and they're like, who is she? Before you even open your mouth, and your ability to be able to handle any room, any space you walk into, inhabiting pure power. That's who I'm built to serve. I'm built to handle chaos and bringing that into order for those who are ready to do that. I'm ready to take those who are bringing something strictly from infinite intelligence and embodying, inhabiting the power required to bring that to the world and navigating all of the forces that are in opposition to that. I'm here to deal with the ugly and the heavenly and everything in between. I am the fullness, the itness. I am not here because you're exploring your options. So I just wanted to say that for those of you who are watching this and you feel some kind of inclination to email me with something like what I just mentioned. I am here for those who know. That is what pings me. That is what brings me forth. That is what even makes me want to reply to you with delight. So that is it for today. The blessed few, 3 of you working together for a year. This is where my intention is. This is what I'm delighted to do. And that's what's next. Wow, really thrilled about this. So I am here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Paris time. So please share this to spread the word. And I am happy to respond to comments that are thoughtful here on this video. Okay, so that concludes today's show, The Power to Lead an Unseen Vision. And I will be back here with joy on Friday, same time, same place. Arrivederci from the mountains of Italy.